Life is long and complicated, and despite our best intentions, we never know which shape our future will take. As before you know it, you could end up living a life totally alien to the one you planned. Maybe you were forced to make compromises, maybe something out of your control changes everything, or maybe your bad habits ultimately held you back from ever reaching your potential. But for It's Always Sunny's Matthew Mara, after being bullied throughout high school for his leg braces, he planned for a life in cloth, to dedicate his years in service of God. His life was going exactly the way he wanted, until he walked into a bar in South Philadelphia and unexpectedly met the one woman who would negatively impact his life forever. Matthew always had positive memories of Dee from when they were teenagers, as they attended physiotherapy together. And although he felt they bonded, for Dee he was a forgotten memory, a background character she used to use to do her math homework, knowing full well that Matty was attracted to her. And when he wanted to finally kiss her, to potentially begin a romantic life together, she instead made him eat horse poo so she could use the smell as an excuse not to kiss him. For most people, this manipulative act would be enough to turn them off forever. But unfortunately, Matthew's high school years were plagued by bullying. Nicknamed Rickety Cricket for the sound he used to make when he walked in his leg braces, and having photos of him in compromising positions distributed by Dennis, Mac and Charlie. On paper, he was a loser, so he needed to hold on to faith that all of his suffering was part of God's plan. Studying theology gave him meaning and purpose, allowing him to move on from being a victim of bullying with the intention of spreading good in the world, unaware that by the simple act of walking into Paddy's pub, his life would permanently change, as he would encounter a group of people so corrupted by their own self-interest that there was no low they would not stoop to get what they want. On this occasion, the gang needed a priest to bless their religious stain on their wall for it to gain legitimacy, and the fastest way to convince their old pal Rickety Cricket to do it was to use Dee as bait. Now on the face of it, it's bad enough she was trying to seduce a priest away from his chosen path, but psychologically, what Dee is doing here is far more sinister.
I love you, and I could be your wife, and I could spend the rest of my days making you happy.
We should all be aware that while our greatest wants and needs may drive us in positive directions, they're also our greatest weakness that can be taken advantage of. Whether we acknowledge them or not, we all have priorities, things that emotionally take precedence over everything else. And therefore, if someone offers to give us or threatens to take away the thing we value the most, we can be easily manipulated, as in our heart of hearts, this is what we want our life to be. For Matthew Mara, he believed he wanted to serve God, but he likely only landed on that decision due to the suffering he endured as a teenager, feeling isolated and excluded from what came naturally to everyone else. So if he could somehow go back and rewrite that trauma, then he would feel loved, included, and validated. Essentially, the life he chose in the church was always a compromise, something he adapted to as a best-case scenario after accepting his real dreams would never come to fruition. So when Dee pretends to want a life with him, he abandons the life path he was on to pursue his real want. Tragically, the moment he tells Dee what he's done, she just takes it all back. But it's too late. Once he left the church, he could never return, and now he's stuck with nothing.
My life is ruined.
No,
it's ruined.
It's not.
It's often hard to know when a decision we make is a life-defining one. Sometimes it's something as innocent as walking into a bar, and other times it's something as significant as abandoning a career path. But after leaving the church, Cricket had no idea what road he turned onto. As unable to find work with his theology degree, he became homeless, where his life would once again be turned upside down by Dee Reynolds, as she and Charlie want to use him to sell drugs so they can pay off the mafia, and decide that the best way to convince him into it is to force him to get high on them first. So now, not only is Cricket homeless, but he's discovered that narcotics are an easy solution to his suffering, and therefore slips into addiction. Knowing his weakness, the gang then frequently use Dee as a means of manipulating this former priest, pretending he may still have a shot with her if he does what they ask, knowing that his religious beliefs make him more susceptible to holding on to false hope that she may change her mind. Over the course of It's Always Sunny, we see the gang harm hundreds of people, but Cricket is like a lingering reminder that their actions have consequences. Sure, their storyline may end, but their victims are still stuck wherever they left them.
I don't know, Crix. I guess there's no real explanation as to why bad things would happen to you.
So they may tell themselves that it's all external forces and bad luck, but we all know that the gang are the sole reason that Cricket's life has turned to shambles. Yet they never take any responsibility for it, as similar to the waitress, Cricket is just a background character they occasionally use and abuse without a second thought. If they're in trouble, he's their scapegoat. If they need someone to do something undignified, he's their man. It's a vicious cycle. The more they mistreat him, the more terrible his life becomes, and thus the more willing he is to take on whatever task they offer, as he has no other options. Now, one might think that bad luck can't possibly continue forever, that sooner or later everything will turn around, but that's not necessarily the case. The more your life spirals out of control, the lower and lower it can sink until it becomes hard to even get back to the last shitty stage of your life, let alone baseline. And this is physically demonstrated over the course of the show as we see Cricket's appearance deteriorate. He goes from clean-cut priest to homeless drug addict to missing teeth to losing his voice to getting gashed across the neck to missing an eye to having his kidney stolen by a Chinaman to having half his face burned off because the gang locked him in a burning building on Thanksgiving. Ever since Dee destroyed his life by tempting him to stray away from the life he chose, his standards of what he's willing to do to survive just keep getting lower and lower. Remember, this is a man who wanted to live a quiet life as a priest, yet with each passing season, he just delves further into criminality, trying to rob his former classmates, selling his body for cash, becoming a pimp, and even being willing to commit murder.
No. I'll push him off the building. I don't give a shit.
It's hard to reconcile that the same man who wanted to be a God-fearing asset to his community has now been beaten down by life so much that he no longer possesses the energy to hold on to a moral compass. But it's sort of understandable. The cruelty of life has taught him that virtues are only weaknesses that can be used against you. The world isn't fair, and everyone around him is malicious. So if you can't beat him, join him. That way you can at least start viewing yourself as the perpetrator rather than the victim. It's in Season 12's A Cricket's Tale that he's finally offered a way off the streets, as his father offers to take him in and allow him to run the family business with his brother once he retires. Surely this is the good luck that Matthew's been waiting for decades. But although this should be a turning point to reinvent himself, when push comes to shove, Cricket's harrowing life experience has changed him forever. He can't imagine being a productive member of society with normal hopes and dreams anymore. All that disappointment since high school to living on the streets has caused him to lose his faith in humanity, as well as any expectations for himself beyond the next hit. So he chooses to go back to the hazardous life he's become accustomed to, rather than trying to grow beyond its shadow. As yes, maybe one woman did ultimately ruin his life in ways he never thought possible. But by embracing the change and accepting the awful person he's become, he no longer has to feel the agony of living a life he did not choose. Proving that even when your life is spinning out of control, there's nothing more addictive and empowering than the illusion of autonomy. Well, if you've made it this far, firstly, thank you for watching, but if you could now give the video a like, possibly even leave a comment and click on that subscribe button, it will encourage that mysterious algorithm to do its thing.